It's the IDP Plus Best Ball Show. I'm Joel Wirth. Welcome back to the Draft Lab. I'm back in the Draft Lab. Spent the weekend in Wisconsin. Had a wedding, my cousin's wedding. Hunter, Cody, congratulations. Again, love you guys. Had a great time. But we are back, and it's time for some Best Ball special edition tonight. We are going to do a Best Ball Mania 5 draft. So let's pull it up. We're waiting for one person to start a draft. Obviously, Best Ball Mania, the big contest on Underdog. I think it's $1.5 million to the winner, $15 million prize pool. Prizes, the prize payout's a little bit different this year. More money to the finalists, so more of a focus on week 16 and 17. You want to get to week 17. That's where the big money is. All right, we are fired up and ready to go, and we have pulled the 5 spot. Like that spot, tends to be a Justin Jefferson spot. I do have a lot of Jefferson shares in my portfolio because I have been, I was drafting him fairly aggressively when his ADP was a bit underwhelming early in the process. So I do have quite a bit of Jefferson shares. So we'll see how this one plays out. He usually doesn't go before 5. It's usually McCaffrey, CeeDee Lamb 1, 2. Then usually Tyreek 3 and Ja'Marr Chase 4. So we'll see how this one plays out. I did do Saturday before the wedding. Had a little bit of time to kill before I had to get ready for the wedding. So did my first Underdog Cardio Club draft. So you can check out Twitter, my handle there at the Joel Wirth, for some pictures of that draft and my cardio. If you're not familiar with Underdog Cardio Club, basically you do a draft while you're working out, doing some kind of cardio that you can take a picture of and prove that you did some cardio, and submit it under the hashtag Underdog Cardio Club on Twitter, and you can get some swag, you can get some free drafts. So, if you're someone like me who could use a little bit more exercise, it's a good way to get some in, and do some draft. You're going to do some drafts anyway, so why not get some exercise as well and get some free swag? So, good times all around. Check out Underdog Cardio Club. You can search it on Twitter, search it on Google or any search engine, and get some more information. Basically, just have to post a draft and post picture proof that you did the workout. So Amon-Ra St. goes at number 4. That's interesting. Obviously, someone wanting to get a piece of that Detroit-San Francisco game. I just drafted Chase the other day, so I'm going to take a Jefferson share here, just to mix it up. So let's look at the draft. As we saw, no surprise, Christian McCaffrey 1, CeeDee Lamb 2, Tyreek Hill 3. That's pretty standard. Amon-Ra St. going 4 is not standard. But again, that Detroit-San Francisco Monday night game in Week 17, obviously going to be a big deal. And obviously this drafter wanting to get a piece of that, and I do not blame him. I think Amon-Ra St. is the clear, at least number 6. He may move up a little bit in my ranking. Somebody I want to get more exposure to. I do have a decent amount. Not unhappy with my exposure right now, but I will want to get some more in the future, especially if his ADP is going to move up because of that game. I will take advantage if he slips a little bit. So I take Jefferson at 5. Ja'Marr Chase goes 6. Bijan Robinson 7. Puka Nacua 8. He has been coming up a little bit in drafts. He's kind of clearly ahead of A.J. Brown and Garrett Wilson, which I think is interesting. But yeah, he's moving up as well. And then Breece Hall at 9. Jahmyr Gibbs at 10. It's about as high as I've seen him go. So interesting there. Again, maybe somebody wanting to get a part of that Detroit-San Francisco Week 17 Monday night game. A.J. Brown 11. Garrett Wilson 12. That's about – I've seen him kind of – Garrett Wilson slip into the early second. So a nice pick there. drafter taps Garrett Wilson and Jonathan Taylor as the one at the 1-2 turn. Marvin Harrison Jr. at 14. He rarely slips beyond that anymore. He's clearly a top 15 pick. Saquon Barkley goes at 15. Drake London 16. And now we're coming back. So an interesting bottom of the draft there. So far, only one of the team, or two, right now, two of the teams, as Brandon Ayuk goes to the Puka Nacua drafter. Only two wide receiver heavy drafters. As Olave goes, one of my favorite picks in the second round. So what is on? Let's sort this by ADP. So we get Devontae Adams, Kyren Williams, Deebo Samuel. An opportunity to get into that the aforementioned Detroit-San Francisco Monday night game. We are on the clock, and Devontae Adams just went. So, yeah, I think I'm a little underweight on Deebo Samuel, so I'm going to take him here. ADP is 21.5, so 20. That's not too bad. Not concerned about that. But someone, again, I want to get more of in my portfolio. And again, I want some action on that. Just like everyone else, I want action on that Detroit-San Francisco game because I do not want to have to sweat that badly. I want something going on in that Monday night game, week 17. Kyren Williams goes in the number 4 hole. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Kyren Williams. Not bad. Not a bad start. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, now 5 drafters going to the first round. Currently, make that 6. So half the draft goes double wide receiver. And now the 1 pick is back on the clock at the 2-3 turn. Let's look and see what we've got going on here. HN would be kind of the heavy favorite to go here. Sort back by ADP. HN, Steph Diggs, DJ Moore, Jaylen Waddle. Sam Laporta is really, really rising up. Again, all those Detroit, San Francisco players are rising up. As Malik Nabers and Mike Evans go. So Evans went at the 23 spot and Nabers goes at 24. That's about where he's going. He rarely gets too far past that 2-3 turn. I've seen him go as low as 30, but that's about as far as you will see him fall. A very popular rookie pick, just like Marvin Harrison. And Jaylen Waddle goes at 25. So McCaffrey, Nabers, Jaylen Waddle for the 1 drafter, not bad. Again, your money's going to be made later in the draft. Everyone's team is going to look good at this point. Who can avoid injuries and who can build the best team? Deeper into the draft is what's going to matter. Steph Diggs goes at 26. So you're very wide receiver heavy draft in the 2 slot. We'll see what the number 3 spot does. HN still on the board, I believe. Yep, HN is kind of hanging out as at the number 1 position. Laporta. And Laporta goes at 27. Very, very interesting there. And we are back on the clock. I prefer to go 0 RB, but HN is just too good a value to pass on right now. At 29, with an ADP of 24, that's a 5-pick value. I think he should go ahead of 24. I'm not concerned about Jalen Wright or Raheem Mostert cutting into his time at all. I still think he's going to get his touches, and he's going to be very efficient with those touches. So I'm not afraid of any workload drop off at all. Obviously, the injury concerns are legit. But that's a concern at any point. That's why they drafted Jalen Wright, because he and Mostert both have concerns injury-wise and whether they can make it through the full season. I think Jalen Wright is primarily a Mostert replacement, not an HN handcuff or insurance policy. So I think that's a very good value on HN. So the 3rd round goes Waddle, Diggs, Laporta, DJ Moore, HN. So I'm no longer in the wide receiver heavy class. Devonta Smith goes at the 6-hole. So that is a very wide receiver heavy draft. Chase, Adams, Devonta Smith, very much like that. Derrick Henry. So the 7 drafter doubles up on running backs. Bijan, Olave, Henry. The 8 drafter takes Pittman. So that's another wide receiver heavy draft. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So we've cut down from 6 to 4. Metcalf, Kelce at 34. He's moving up. Yeah, just like Laporta. I think he's kind of following. He's getting tugged along by Laporta as Laporta moves up, primarily because of that Monday night game that we talked about earlier. I think that's dragging the second tight end up along with him. So Kelce, whose ADP had been kind of low to mid 40s, he's up in. This is not unusual to see him go in the late 3rd. So his ADP, I think, is being dragged up by the Sam Laporta rise. To round off the 3rd round turn, Cooper Kupp, Josh Allen, first quarterback off the board at 36. Again, not atypical. Zay Flowers, Jalen Hurts follows Allen right around that turn. Travis Etienne and Tank Dell. Josh Jacobs at 41. That's a nice value there. So that is the first running back taken for the 8-spot drafter. So they are out of the wide receiver business. Still 0 RB in the 11th spot with A.J. Brown, Marvin Harrison, Cooper Kupp, and a quarterback. And the 6th spot and 2 spot, both 0 RB builds. T. Higgins goes at 42. And then Isaiah Pacheco. And we are back on the clock. We take Lamar Jackson here. I don't think I want to go quarterback this early. Trey McBride, Kincaid, Andrews. I think I want to get a tight end here. Hawkinson's a tough pair with Jefferson because of the injury. So I want to get an elite tight end. I will take Trey McBride. A little bit nervous about the wide receiver situation, as I always do when I draft a running back early, because I do want to get an elite tight end. I am pretty fond of taking a tight end early, which means I'm nervous about that 3rd and 4th wide receiver because wide receivers tend to get taken very early. So Kincaid goes, that's good. We do want to keep that tight end running, keep that tight end run going so that we can draft more wide receivers because we don't want them to run out. I think we've talked about this before, there's a very kind of clear delineation at around kind of the early 80s. Christian Watson kind of was that line. To where the receivers you were kind of happy with ended. He's getting pushed up into the late 70s. His ADP is really on the rise. I think that's a response to the amount of wide receivers that are being taken and not wanting to be left out of that run. So he's getting pushed up. Deontay Johnson's getting pushed up. Jackson Smith and Jigba is getting pushed up. That kind of final tier of receivers getting pushed up into the 70s. Really, whether you want to be wide receiver heavy or not, you kind of have to. You got to pick your spots. You've got to get your receivers, or they run out, and they run out quickly. And you can be kind of left holding the bag if you go running back too heavy, or if you take a quarterback early and a tight end early and a running back early. You can just get kind of boxed out of wide receivers, and that's a tough spot to be. So Keenan Allen goes to the 3rd spot drafter. That is a so far 0 running back team. Tyreek, Nico, and Keenan Allen to go with Sam Laporta. Then Lamar Jackson. So the 2-hole still has not taken running back. As we go around the turn, McCaffrey, and then 3 straight receivers, Nabers, Waddle, Christian Kirk. Kirk's ADP is getting pushed up a little bit. He goes 48 here. Like that spot. I like Kirk's a guy I want to get more of. I kind of soft on him in my portfolio. Just haven't had a lot of opportunities to pick him up, and I do want to get some more of. Amari Cooper goes around 50. That's pretty normal for him. At the 49 overall, Mark Andrews goes at 50. So again, kind of ending that elite tight end run. I think the next one would be Pitts and Kittle. Kittle would be interesting here to pair with Deebo because we want to start looking at our correlations. We could pair Kittle with Deebo like that. But again, I'm a little worried about getting soft on receivers. So let's take a look at the board, what's the receivers look like? Pickens, Worthy, Jaden Reed, McLaurin, Hollywood Brown, Calvin Ridley. We are on the clock. So Cook and White go. So that leaves us our choice of receivers here. Next tight end is Pitts at 59, Kittle at 66. Let's see if we can get Kittle to come back. Not a lot of. Oops, I just got auto drafted into Pickens. That's all right. I took too long to make that pick. That's okay. I wanted a receiver there, so we'll make that work. Not super high on Worthy. I know there are some people who like him quite a bit. I understand it, but I'm a little concerned. He's going to be just a gadget guy. Kind of struggled catching the ball at Texas. Some of that may be Quinn Ewers. He's going to have a much better quarterback. But I'm very nervous about Worthy. Had some comps to Deshaun Jackson. That's a pretty high bar. The last time we heard a rookie comp to a former Andy Reid superstar was Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Brian Westbrook, and that did not turn out very well. And again, you get to look back at last year. As good as Rashee Rice was, he wasn't on the field like the first half of the season. It took him to kind of get on the field and kind of earn regular snaps. So it's a very crowded offense, right? You've got Hollywood Brown, Travis Kelce, Pacheco's going to get his. We'll see what happens with Rashee Rice. We don't know. We expect a suspension coming. It may not be that long. It may not come at all, right? The legal system may take a while to play out, and I don't think the NFL is going to want to do anything until that happens. So, I mean, there's a real chance that Rice just doesn't get suspended, and that offense just kind of crowds Worthy out. So I'm a little nervous about him. So I'm not upset about Pickens there. I think his skill set kind of matches up well with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, their new quarterbacks. I'm worried about a number one receiver in an Arthur Smith offense. Obviously, we saw what happened to Drake London last year, but I think he matches up. Those Wilson and Fields are both deep ball throwers. Those are guys who want to throw the ball deep. Pickens is a downfield threat. He's a contested catch threat, which matches up really well with both those guys who aren't the most accurate of quarterbacks. So I do like that matchup. He's kind of the only established show in town, right? They drafted Roman Wilson, but we don't know what he's going to be, if he's going to be anything at this level. So Allen Robinson's gone, Deontay Johnson's gone, Freiermuth is still there, but all right. So Kittle went, so we miss out on that. I would like to get another receiver here. I think I'm going to take a Keon Coleman share. I had a lot of Coleman early, and then his ADP kind of just kept creeping up, and I kind of got boxed out. So I do want to get a share of him there. I do want to look and see. I would like to pair Purdy with Deebo. Let's see where that's going to go. So let's look at the last round as we kind of talk through some the situation in Kansas City. So Mahomes goes at 54, Terry McLaurin at 55, Jaden Reed, Stroud, another quarterback, Calvin Ridley, Hollywood Brown. You can see where that tier of receivers just gets kind of picked off. Ken Walker and Kyle Pitts around the turn. Mixon, Kamara as we start to kind of work our way into the second tier running backs. Addison, Anthony Richardson, another quarterback, one I like quite a bit. We missed Kittle by 2 picks as we tried to sneak him around the turn. Didn't quite work, but that's all right. We have one, so we can get Ferguson. We can get Njoku. We could take Hawkinson and then take a third tight end if we wanted to pair. If we wanted to do the Minnesota stack, we can do that. Not opposed to that. I did a lot of that early. So we take Keon Coleman. That ADP is just getting pushed up and pushed up. Let's see what his ADP is. We take him at 68. His ADP is 71, so right about ADP there. Not surprising. He's got that number one role. in Buffalo with Josh Allen, very coveted position. So let's look at the quarterbacks. We don't have a quarterback yet. Kyler Murray's on the board, and I've got a lot of Kyler Murray shares. I do like him quite a bit. Might be taking him away from the Marvin Harrison drafter, but that's his problem. Burrow's still on the board. I would around 7. I'd be kind of taking him away from the Chase drafter. I would like to go Purdy McCarthy, but I'm not, because I have Jefferson and Deebo. I'm not super comfortable enough with McCarthy that I wouldn't want another quarterback. So I think I'm probably going to take one here. And then we may double tap with Purdy coming around. Unless there's a receiver we really like. So we're pick 77. I think I'm going to make the Chase drafter upset, and I'm going to take Joe Burrow. Sorry, bro. That's the way it goes. Again, I've seen a lot on Twitter, people complaining that their stack got broken up by someone who took a player way ahead of ADP. Let me say this. You are responsible for your own stacks. If you want your stacks, if they're that important to you, you need to go out and aggressively get them. That's all there is to it, right? If someone takes your stack away, they're not, if that's the player they want, that's the player they want. If that's the player that they want for their team, that's the player that they want for their team, right? You are responsible for your own stacks. Go get it. If you got to draft them around ahead of ADP, then you have to draft them around ahead of ADP. That's the way it works. That's the game. So, the complaining kind of really bothers me. Nothing I take personally or anything, but take responsibility for your stacks. Do what you've got to do to get your stacks. It's no one's fault if someone without a badge takes a quarterback or that you need for a stack around ahead of ADP. If that's the player they want, if that's the player they think they need for their team, if they're a homer, whatever, these things happen, right? Drafts are weird. Every draft is different. So that's what happens. I'll repeat myself. You are responsible for your own stacks. Do what you need to do to build your best team. Can't rely on anyone or everyone else letting players fall to you. It doesn't work that way. So let's take a look at what we've missed. So after Coleman, we have McConkey, Odunze, Godwin, Thomas, and those wide receivers. That's what I mean. They go quick when they go. David Montgomery, Aaron Jones, Tony Pollard, so the running backs. Evan Ingram kind of finishes off the high-end tight ends. Jake Ferguson goes right there. We took Burrow ahead of the Chase drafter. So, again, sorry, bro. They take Hopkins instead. They had Mahomes, so maybe they weren't taking Burrow. Either way, I wanted Burrow. I like him a lot at pick 77. That's a good quarterback, especially since I'm probably going to be taking McCarthy later or trying to get McCarthy later. And if I'm going to do that, I'm going to want a third quarterback. Hopkins, Murray, Ferguson again, DeAndre Swift, Dak Prescott, Ramondre, JSN, Christian Watson at 85. That's kind of closer to his ADP. Nice turn there with JSN and Christian Watson for the 12th drafter, kind of eliminating that tier of receivers. Samir White, Jordan Love, Keontae Johnson, and Jonathan Brooks goes. Another guy whose ADP is on the rise. After the draft, I think his ADP started off low 90s. Pretty rare to see him that close to 90. He's usually going into the 80s. So where are we? Yeah, we're just going to tap Jaylen Warren here. No question about that. He's a guy I like quite a bit. Goes back-to-back with Najee Harris. I think they should be going kind of very close to each other. I like them both quite a bit. I like any running back in an Arthur Smith offense. We've heard kind of best shape of his life with Najee Harris stories already. How he's cut out the carbs and he's eating well and he's lost weight. That's great. And I do like him quite a bit, but I like Warren as well. So happy to have either one of them, especially as my RB2. A lot of my hard zero RB builds, I take one of them as my first running back. Again, in the 8th round, we took Jaylen Warren as my second running back because we had Achane. So like that running back room quite a bit. We got Burrow, like that. Justin Jefferson, Deebo Samuel, George Pickens, Keon Coleman. Happy with that wide receiver room. Don't feel super great about it, but again, if Justin Jefferson gets back to his kind of best receiver in the game status that he enjoyed a couple years ago, or 2 years ago, wasn't even that long ago, before the hamstring injury last year kind of took him out of that. He can kind of carry this. Deebo, think about what he did in the playoffs last year. He was an absolute hero. Don't expect that to change. Love that offense. Again, then you got a couple questionable guys in Pickens and Coleman, but very high-end guys, guys who can carry a team. And Trey McBride, again, elite tight end, so I like that. I don't know, maybe I should have taken Kyler to go with McBride instead of Burrow, but man, I've already got, like I said, I've got a lot of Kyler shares already. I need to kind of that's kind of a portfolio play. I really need to diversify a little bit. Okay. I would like to stack Purdy here with Deebo if he comes around, so we'll star him. Receiver market is pretty thin. We're down to the Cortland Sutton. And Njoku would be a target here if Purdy does not work out. So Jaden Daniels goes, no surprise there. So do you want to get that second quarterback and the stack with Deebo? So like that a lot. If this team works out well, I can go into that Monday night game in Week 17 knowing I've got a Purdy Deebo stack. So I do like that. So all you Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta drafters, if you're in the finals, you're going to have to contend with my Deebo and Purdy stack. So let's see. Tyler Lockett goes. Chris Samuel went before that. And there goes Njoku. So that's now we're down to Bowers as the elite tight end tier. Dallas Goedert. I think there's a pretty clear gap between Bowers and Goedert. I like Bowers quite a bit. I think he's underrated. He just goes right there. No surprise, because I think there's a big gap between Bowers and Goedert. Goddard's just so inconsistent. He does have those spike games. You certainly like that, but the injuries kind of having an unreliable tight end in a position that you don't want to commit too many resources to is very, very difficult. And that's the reason, kind of getting at the same thing I mentioned with Hockenson earlier. If he starts on the pup, you cannot do a 2 tight end build with Hockenson. You just can't. And probably the same thing with Goddard, right? It's just it's way too risky that you just don't have a position filled when you have guys that are that injury prone. So I'm very glad I've got McBride and don't have to worry about that. Getting back to Bowers, I do like him quite a bit. I think he's going to be a focal point of the offense along with Devontae Adams. I think he will kind of take that second receiver role away from Jacoby Myers. So I like Bowers quite a bit, especially at his ADP. Where did he go? 104. Yeah, I like that as a tight end play, and the very end of the tight ends that I like tier. So looking at ADP ranks now, you can see it's just running back. This is why everyone's going wide receiver heavy, because there's this group of running backs late in the early 100s that are, I'm very happy with this. If this is my running back 3, I'm quite happy with that. So we are up in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 picks. Dobbs goes. And now we're down to Shakir. Not sure what I think. We've got Keon Coleman. Not someone I really want to double dip with. Adonai Mitchell, someone I like if I get Shaheed goes, I like him. I was just going to talk about him. I like him quite a bit. I like the whole Saints offense. Edni Mitchell, I only really like if I draft Anthony Richardson. Otherwise, I'm not really super excited about drafting him. Chase Brown, Tyjae Spears, some guys I do not want to forget because I like them a lot. Javonte Williams goes. Probably target Austin Eckler here if he gets through this pick. As my third back, Singletary goes. Okay, so I will draft Austin Eckler. Just wondering if I'm, maybe I want to I think I'll take Chase Brown since I've got Burrow. I like that pairing because I think Brown's going to catch a lot of passes out of the backfield. I think he will be the clear third down back. He will be the hurry up back instead of Zach Moss. So I like pairing Chase Brown with Burrow. So I like that. We'll take him ahead of Eckler, even though I like Eckler better in a vacuum, but since I've already got Burrow, I think I'll take the Brown there ahead of ADP, but that's all right. At this point, ADPs really don't matter. Hawkinson's on the board. He's interesting here. I can put him with Jefferson. If I do that, then I'm kind of committing to a 3-3 build because I'm going to want to get J.J. McCarthy as my third quarterback to go with that stack, and then I would need a third tight end. So I'd be going 3-3-6-6 probably. I generally don't like going spending six roster spots. Oh, Hawkinson goes, so it doesn't matter. My preferred roster build, we'll talk about this, is to go 5 roster spots between quarterback and tight end. So depending on how, if it's a Hawkinson draft, then I want to take 3 tight ends. If it's someone like Anthony Richardson, if it's Kirk Cousins, guys who are quarterbacks who are coming off injury, then I typically want to go 3 quarterbacks. Burrow might be in that group. Struggled to stay healthy last year, had the wrist injury, had the calf injury. So I probably, want to get a second strong tight end to go with McBride, and then I'll want to get J.J. McCarthy to pair with Justin Jefferson. So what is on the board? We've got Spears. We're at 3 backs, 4 receivers. And there's just not a lot of receivers that I like in this area at all. Just kind of scrolling down the board. There's Josh Downs I like. Leggett's interesting. Obviously, I like Dontayvion Wicks because I'm a Packer fan. That's someone whose ADP is kind of wild. It just wildly swings. He can go in the early 120s. He can go in the 150s. He's just all over the board. Since I have 3 backs and there's just more backs that I like. Okay, so Goff goes. So it's a choice between Downs and Wicks. Downs, again, I prefer stacking with Richardson. Wicks is someone I'm okay with drafting kind of naked. So I'm going to take Wicks there because receivers are just really running thin. There's just not going to be a lot of guys, and I want to get at least one more. But there's plenty of running backs that I like. Spears is one, obviously. Charbonnet, I'm okay with. Jerome Ford, I'm okay with. Dowdle. Again, Jalen Wright, I would like. I'm okay with putting Wright and Achane together on the same team. Don't mind that at all. Spears goes. So let's look at the board the last couple rounds. Let's see. Since we talked about Bowers, and Mostert went 105. A little late. That's a nice pick there. Sutton, Mike Williams. Oof. Man, that's early for him. That's not a ADP I'm comfortable with. Again, Nick Chubb. How many games are you going to get on Nick Chubb? And is he going to be the same guy coming back off that very serious knee injury? Someone I have very few shares of, and I'm not uncomfortable with that at all. It does not bother me. Gus Edwards. So that's a nice, I'm okay with that double tap, but Chubb's not a guy I really like. Again, Goedert, kind of the last of the tight ends before you get to Hawkinson, Dobbs, Shakir, again, the wide receiver run, Javonte Williams. Do like Javonte Williams to bounce back a little bit from his first season off the ACL. People are disappointed in Javonte Williams. I didn't expect anything last year from him because he was coming off that ACL tear. So the fact that he didn't kind of have a great season is not surprising to me. So I think he's someone who's going kind of under the radar. Singletary, we took Chase Brown, Jacoby Myers, Hawkinson, Brian Robinson. Robinson had a Eckler is interesting, but those two go very close. Tua on the turn, A.D. Mitchell, Josh Palmer, Jared Goff. We take Dontayvion Wicks, and Tyjae Spears goes right after that. Would have taken him kind of in a vacuum if I wasn't so afraid of running out of wide receivers. Judy goes, someone I'm not interested in, but I can see him going at this point. Zeke Elliott, Dalton Schultz. So we've kind of narrowed the tight end pool. Gonna have to get another one here. Let's see what's in that. Let's see what's available. Brandon Cooks, Blake Corum, not paired. That's Kyron Williams. I think he went on the other end of the draft. Yeah, Kyron Williams at 21. So Corum and Williams are not paired. Gabe Davis, Charbonnet, Dowdle around the turn. And there goes Josh Allen. So that's, I think, Legette's the only receiver I'm really interested in at this point. That's all right. I do think let's look at the tight end pool. And we want to get another one here because we've only got McBride. Like Musgrave, not a Sinnott fan. I think he's more of an H-back. I've got a couple shares on my Jaden Daniels stacks, but not a real big fan of Sinnott, Freiermuth, Henry, Otten, Juwan Johnson I do like. I think I'll try to sneak Musgrave around the turn. I think I want to get Jaylen Wright to pair with Achane. I do like that pairing quite a bit because I think they both could have standalone value. And if Achane can't stay healthy, then I've got some insurance there. Then I've got the kind of next. So Dotson goes good. So I'm getting Jaylen Wright to pair with Achane. Like that quite a bit. So now I've got two of the three Miami backs. I've got Jaylen Warren. I've got Chase Brown. None of those guys are lead backs, but I think they're all going to have standalone value. They're going to they're all in timeshares enough that they will have weekly upside and a weekly floor as well. So very happy with that running back room. Again, I'm a zero RV guy, so I'm happy with most running back rooms. Very hard to scare when it comes to running backs. Burrow and Purdy don't have any other Vikings besides Jefferson. So I'm not going to be terrified or really upset if I don't get J.J. McCarthy, but I think I do want a third quarterback. We might want to go 3-3, but we'll see how that plays out. We'll see if we get Musgrave around the turn or not. Ty Chandler again. He's another timeshare running back that I like. But since I've got so many, not upset to see that go. So Cousins Ford, that's a good value at 137. We'll be tapping Deonta Foreman aggressively. He's one of my favorite late round players. Justin Herbert goes 138 overall. So if there was ever proof that you could wait on quarterback, getting Justin Herbert, who's a legit starting level quarterback in the 12th round, is more than enough proof that you can wait on quarterback. Jahan Dotson, again, I like Dotson's upside quite a bit, but man, that floor is just absolute zero. So scary player. If you've got a Jaden, let's see, did he get stacked with anything else? Nope, that's a Mahomes team. Again, that's a player I like stacking with his quarterback. Don't necessarily like taking him naked. We took Jaylen Wright and like pairing him with Achane or Mostert, either one, but we get Achane, so good with that pairing. Cole Kmet, so another tight end goes off the board. Chandler, Legette, That's kind of the end of the tight end or the wide receivers. Don't like Thielen at all. He's just very low upside. Thielen's guy, he's the opposite of better in best ball. He's better in managed lineups because he's got the very solid floor, but just does not have a very high upside. And then Freiermuth around the turn. Marshawn Lloyd, my Green Bay Packer backup running back. Someone I kind of target aggressively in zero RB builds, but in this hero RB build, not someone I'm kind of more picking my spots than taking a guy like that. Sinnott goes. I'm okay with that. Quentin Johnston. And now we are on the clock. And we did get Musgrave around the turn. So I like that pairing. So now we've got, here's an interesting thing. We've got Jefferson kind of naked, but we've got the Week 17 bringbacks with Dontayvion Wicks and Luke Musgrave. So we can look for a shootout there. So now that even though I've got Jefferson alone as the only Viking, I'm still going to want to kind of try and grab JJ McCarthy because, and just hope for the Week 17 Vikings Packers blowout, which would not be surprising. Two teams who are very familiar with each other, so they can put up some big points. Ricky Pearsall goes. That would have been interesting with Purdy. Since I already have Deebo, I don't want to. I don't necessarily want to pair him with Pearsall because I think that's kind of a bet against Deebo. And that's obviously not a bet I want to make since I have Deebo. So a little bit of a different situation than Achane and Jaylen Wright, because I think, as I said, Jaylen Wright is the replacement more for Mostert than he is for Achane. So I think they could both have standalone value with a Mostert injury. Whereas without a Deebo injury, I don't see a path or trade, which I do not think is really going to happen. I don't necessarily see a path for Ricky Pearsall because I don't think he would be a replacement for Brandon Ayuk. If there happened to be an Ayuk injury, I just don't think they're very similar receivers. So I don't necessarily want, even though I have Purdy, I don't necessarily want to take Pearsall with Deebo because I think that could just be a wasted roster spot. And it's if you were going later, a couple rounds later, 16th round, something like that, then I'd be okay with it. In the 13th round, I'm afraid that just becomes a zero on my team, and I don't necessarily want to do that. So let's go back to the board. Since we took Musgrave, Kendre Miller, like him a lot, Pearsall, Stafford, Antonio Gibson, Aaron Rodgers, Hunter Henry, Roman Wilson, Baker Mayfield, Jalen Polk. So our next pick is 164. What is McCarthy's ADP? 180. So I'm going to start him. So again, I think we could probably get him around the turn. 173. Let's see if there's anything else that we really like. We're up here in 4 picks. I do like Burton. That would be my 6th receiver. How many receivers do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so I could pair Burton with Burrow and Chase Brown. So if he gets to me, I'm going to take Burton. Nope, 2 picks away. So there that goes. I just don't know if there's anybody I would rather have than just locking up McCarthy. So I think I'll probably I think I should probably take somebody else. Johnson goes. That would have been an interesting target. Let's look at the board real quick. What's the quarterback situation? A lot of quarterbacks there. That doesn't have one. I'm just going to take McCarthy. It's the pick I want. So I'm just going to take him here. There's enough guys that kind of all look the same here, like Davis, Vidal, Algier. Algier goes. McLaughlin, Bucky Irving, just Tyrone Tracy. I do like Tyrone Tracy. All those guys kind of look the same. So I'm okay taking the guy I want, taking my stack, even if it's round early, maybe if it's a round and a half early, that's okay. I'm just going to take the guy I want, put him in pocket. I've got my quarterback room the way I like it. I've got the Deebo Purdy stacked. I've got McCarthy and Jefferson stacked. I've got Burrow with Chase Brown. That's okay. So I've got correlations with all my quarterbacks like that. I've got insurance. I didn't even look at the bye weeks. So Cincinnati is week 12. Minnesota is week 6. And where's San Francisco? Week 9. So, okay, good. Like that. So I've got 3 separate bye weeks on my quarterback, so that's good. I should look at tight end. Arizona and Green Bay. So Arizona's week 11. Green Bay's week 10. Good. Okay. So I don't necessarily, I'm okay with those tight ends. We'll see. May want to grab Tucker Kraft just as Musgrave insurance, but I'm not too afraid of that. Musgrave didn't have like a soft kidney. It was violent, lacerated kidney. His injury last year was a lacerated kidney. So not something I'm worried about recurring. So even though he didn't play his full rookie season, I'm not super worried about injury. But Tucker Kraft may be someone if we get into a spot where we just don't like our options that we may just want to roster. Go ahead. So what did we miss? Since I took McCarthy, Algier, Deshaun Watson, Kamani Vidal, Ray Davis, again, all those guys kind of look the same. Dobbins, Baker, who I do like as a late wide receiver dart. Hubbard, Marvin Mims. We are up. And I'm going to grab Jaleel McLaughlin or Tracy. Which one do we like? I'm just going to. I like Tyrone Tracy a lot, but I've got so many shares. I drafted him quite a bit late. So I'm going to leave him go, and I will take McLaughlin. A lot of people like McLaughlin. I'm not super high on him, but at pick 173, I'm okay. I want to get some more. I do want to get some more shares. I think I'm a little bit underweight. So that's a portfolio play. Like I said, in a vacuum, I would prefer Tracy, but I'll take McLaughlin here just to kind of stack my portfolio. There goes Tracy. No surprise that he does not come around. I do want to find Deonta Foreman, my favorite. Talked about him earlier on an earlier show. I think it's going to be a long road back for Nick Chubb. I don't think he's back before like midseason. I think he's going to miss at least the first half of the season. That's going to leave Jerome Ford and Deonta Foreman as the two kind of main lead backs in Cleveland. Jerome Ford wasn't that good last year. I've got some shares, but I much prefer Deonta Foreman. Just Ford was not good. Just very inefficient. So I think there's a real path for Foreman to kind of be the lead back in Cleveland. Just kind of fits the mold better as like the 2-down kind of lead back, and let Ford be the hurry up back, the 2-minute back, the 3rd down back. Foreman has just been good in every role the last couple of years since he's gotten over the Achilles injury. Carolina ran for 1,000 yards in a partial season after McCaffrey got traded. Last year with the Bears, he was the 3rd running back on the depth chart behind Khalil Herbert, behind Roshan Johnson. When both those guys got hurt, Deonta Foreman came in, had a 3-touchdown game. Just all the guy does is produce. So someone I do want to fit onto my roster. What do we got? So we got a 3-5-5-2 build right now. So room for another receiver, room for another running back. And I think I probably might want to grab Tucker Kraft just to be sure that I've got that kind of locked up. What's left in the wide receiver room? Bateman, don't like. Wan'Dale Robinson, do like. And he goes, see, I'm prophetic. I have ESPN without question. So he goes right there. Zay Jones, Mario Douglas, kind of like Thielen, just zero ceiling. Solid floor, but just no ceiling. Tyler Boyd. The thing about the Tennessee receivers is I think there's a path for all of them in play because they're all old, right? Hopkins is going to be 32, or Ridley's going to be 30. Boyd's going to be 30. There's a path for all of them. Man, receivers just really gross. This is what I do like A.T. Perry, but not now. This is what I'm talking about, the wide receivers drying up. So we got 3 more picks. This might be the order that we want them. We'll just use them to kind of fill out. Okonkwo's interesting. Elijah Mitchell would be interesting on this build because I am 49er heavy, so we'll take him here. And then if I don't have room for Foreman, that's okay. Do I have enough to where I can last with 5 receivers? I don't like doing that. So I probably want to add another one. I think I'll add another one and then decide between. I think I'll probably go after A.T. Perry in the next round and then decide who I want for my last spot, whether that's Foreman or Tucker Kraft. I can probably live without Tucker Kraft. Where are we at here? 6 backs. Achane and Wright, Warren, Chase Brown, McLaughlin, Elijah Mitchell. Probably don't need Foreman. We'll see. We'll see how this plays out. We'll see who comes back to me. You never know. Quarterback we're done with. Let me take those off. No interest there. Tez Walker. Interesting. Kind of a best ball guy because I think he'll be a deep threat. A very low volume guy who may have 2 or 3 spike weeks across the season. By again, a complete zero floor guy, but I think he does have some upside, especially in that offense that lost Odell Beckham. Only really has Rashad Bateman and Zay Flowers. I like Flowers, obviously. Everyone likes Flowers. Don't like Bateman at all. He's just never done anything at the NFL level. Never been able to stay healthy. Never really been productive. So I think there's a path for Walker. I think there's going to be some opportunity there, and they could use a deep threat. But again, it's not someone I expect to provide consistent results. It would just be, maybe I get 2 or 3 weeks where he kind of spikes and goes off. Kind of the same as A.T. Perry. I like A.T. Perry better, and I do want. I need a 6th receiver. I can't go into 5. I can't go into the season with 5, even though I like the 5 I have. So I'm going to take Perry here. And then I've got one more spot. That'll be estimate is interesting as well. Again, I don't super love that. I think between McLaughlin and Javonte Williams, I think they'll kind of be taken care of. I'm not sure what kind of role Estimate is going to have. He may just be just a goal line back. We'll see. Let's talk about the last couple rounds. So round 16, Demarcus Robinson, Cade Otton, Wan'Dale Robinson, who got taken right as I mentioned him. Do like him. I think he's going to have a role. I think Malik Nabers is kind of opened things up for Wan'Dale Robinson. Not like he's ever commanded a ton of attention, but he's just been kind of the best receiver by default. So I think having Malik Nabers just kind of open up that underneath area for him to kind of run around and make some plays. And if you're Brian Daboll, if you're Wan'Dale Robinson, if you know where Malik Nabers is going to go, you know where the defense isn't going to be, so you can kind of adjust your routes to go there. So I do like Wan'Dale Robinson a bit. One of the last receivers that I'm interested in rostering. Noah Fant got the job to himself in Seattle. I can see the upside, but not someone I want to rely on. So in a 3 tight end build, I'm okay with that. In a 2, I would want something better. Levis and Geno Smith going here, that's fine. Keaton Mitchell, I don't see it. The guy's coming off a late season ACL. Just not interested. Someone I'm going to have probably 0 shares of and not be concerned about. We took Mitchell just to kind of build out our San Francisco stack. Beckham, he's got a chance in Miami. I, again, didn't really do anything in Baltimore, but at this point, what are you holding on to? Derek Carr, sure, that's where he goes. Lamar Douglas, Bateman, Okonkwo. Again, the quarterbacks, the late quarterbacks, Drake May, Justin Fields. Fields upside play, but again, doesn't really fit our build. Would have been nice with Pickens, but would prefer obviously McCarthy with Jefferson. Chark, A.T. Perry, Tolbert, Malik Washington. I like Perry both better than both those guys. Will Shipley, sure, in that Saquon Barkley misses like 3 games every year, so I can see a path to him putting up a few games. Otherwise, at this point, again, what does it hurt? Dulcich, good luck. Johnny Smith, as a late flyer in a 3 tight end build, I'm okay with that just because it's an offense that's going to put up a lot of points. Zay Jones, we talked about. Tucker Kraft goes. So he's off our list. Jalen Hyatt. So we're going to have a 2 tight end build. That's okay. Jalen Hyatt, Daniel Jones on the non-Nabers team, right? Yep. So interesting there. Damian Pierce. Sure. Tez Walker goes. So we are 4 picks away. What does our queue look like? It's probably just Foreman and estimate. So that's probably where we'll land. We'll see if Foreman gets back to us. Sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he goes higher. Bryce Young is still out there. So again, even if you wait on quarterback, you can still get a starter in the last round. And you kind of see in the last 2 rounds, it's been Justin Fields, potential starter with high upside. Oops, we got to make a pick. I'm going to take Foreman just because he's my sweet baby love. I try to get him in every draft. And I'm okay with that, right? Your 17th, 18th round guy, if that's the same guy every time, that's cool. If that guy goes off, then all your teams have a chance to blow up. So I'm okay with that. I don't mind being overexposed to a player if it's a 17th, 18th round player. No concerns there. Yes, it's higher than I want any given player to be, especially someone who doesn't expect to have a job or isn't guaranteed a job by any means. But again, it's a 17th, 18th round player. If that guy crashes on every team, it's not the end of the world. I'm not relying on that player in any way whatsoever. It's just an upside play. So getting back, we were talking about the quarterbacks. Justin Fields, Drake May, Daniel Jones, Bryce Young, all starter or potential starters. 3 of those guys we expect to have a job. Justin Fields we expect to have a job at some point. So you can wait till the very end and have at least starters. So you definitely do not have to draft quarterback early. So you can obviously wait on quarterback. It's very different environment than last year. If you're just getting into best ball right now. You remember last year when Mahomes, Josh Allen were all going. Sometimes you'd see them in the first, usually in the second. Rarely did they get to the middle of the third before one of those guys would go. Hurts. The quarterbacks don't start until the third. So, and you can wait. You don't have to get one early. We waited, got Burrow, Purdy, McCarthy, 3 expected starting quarterbacks that like quarterbacks. So let's take a look at this team. It is a 3-7-6-2 build. Again, my preferred build is 5 spots between quarterback and tight end. So we hit that here. Good there. 7 running backs. With the hero RB build, I can usually go down to 6. Typically when I do zeros, I go 7. So Okay with that. Again, we double dipped on Miami, so okay with 7. And I like my receivers enough that I'm okay with the 6. So let's go from the top. Burrow, Purdy, McCarthy. 3 quarterbacks I'm very happy with. 3 quarterbacks with different bye weeks. That's important. So you've always got 2 options going in any given week. So like that quite a bit. So yeah, again, Burrow, our first quarterback with, we got 3 quarterbacks that we like. Our first one was taken at pick 77. So well into the 7th round. So good there. So pick 77, 101, and 164. Burrow went late. ADP's around 73, 74. We took him at 77. Took Purdy right around ADP, and we took McCarthy early. But again, not stressing ADP to get any of those guys. Running back room, HN, very good value, I think, at 29, and his ADP is 24. I think so. That's an ADP and a ranking value, a double value there, because I would have HN ranked around. I think I've got him around 19 or 20 overall, 18, 19, 20 in that range. So like that pick quite a bit with my second or third pick, actually, because Deebo was the second. So I like that very much in the 3rd round. Pairing him with Jaylen Wright. So we've got 2/3 of that Miami backfield. So feel good about that. So even if one goes down, we've got another. And if Mostert goes down, then we've got that entire backfield to ourselves. I like that quite a bit. Jaylen Warren, Chase Brown, we talked about those guys. Not bell cows, but guys who will play enough snaps to have standalone value and have a high upside at any given week, especially if the game script kind of determines that they go a little pass heavy. And we like Jaylen Warren in the Arthur Smith offense. Jaleel McLaughlin, flyer in Denver. Again, some people really like him. Good value. Got him at 173, so behind ADP, so good with that. Elijah Mitchell fits the build. We've got Purdy. We've got Deebo. So again, that San Francisco 49er stack. If anything happens to McCaffrey, high upside. That's handcuff only. Obviously not handcuffed to McCaffrey. We don't have him. It doesn't have standalone value, I should say. It's the more accurate description. But if McCaffrey went down, he would be a high value player. And Deontay Foreman, again, we talked about him quite a bit. One of my favorite players, one of my favorite late round picks, because I think he's got a chance to be the lead back in Cleveland. Jefferson at 5, a little bit of ADP, but that's about where he goes in this draft. Amon-Ra St. Brown went ahead of him, and Chase went after, just because I just did a Chase draft, so I wanted to mix things up a little bit. Deebo Samuel at 2, getting exposure to that San Francisco game, stacked him with Purdy, so like that San Francisco-Detroit Monday night game. Want to get as much exposure to that as we can, because we do not want to be sweating a Monday night game that could put up an absolute ton of points. Pickens wasn't paying attention. He got auto-drafted because he was at the top of the list, but not upset. He's a best ball, better in best ball kind of player. So good with that as my 3rd receiver. Again, Keon Coleman, very similar type of player to Pickens. Again, paired with Josh Allen, he will be the number 1 wide receiver for Buffalo. I think Kincaid will be the number 1 receiver, but Keon Coleman will be the number 1 from that wide receiver position. I think his skill set matches up with Josh Allen well, with that kind of improvisational ability of Josh Allen. Coleman's got great hands, just elite hands. You watch him in college, and like his catches never get to the body, right? He hands catches everything. Very strong hands, excellent catcher of the football, has the physicality to kind of move and make contested catches. So I think he'll be a good pairing with Josh Allen in the play styles kind of mesh well. Dontayvion Wicks, again, a guy I like. His ADP goes all over the place. I drafted him early, but the wide receivers were just drying up really fast, and I wanted to get one I liked as my 5th. And A.T. Perry, I love that. I just love the New Orleans offense. I think it's one of the more underrated offenses kind of in the preseason. Going from Pete Carmichael to Clint Kubiak, I think it's going to be a big deal. And I think another year in New Orleans the familiarity with the team will help Derek Carr. So I think it's just going to be a much better offense overall. And finally, we get to the tight ends. Trey McBride, Luke Musgrave. Again, high upside. McBride is obviously top 5 tight end. I think he's should be considered right with Laporta and Kelce as top tier tight ends. I think he belongs in that group. I think that's going to be a much better offense. So even if Harrison takes some of his touches away, I still think he's going to be a very valuable player just because the offense is going to be so good. Kind of a rising tide lifts all boats deal in Arizona. Luke Musgrave, again, as a second tight end, I'm okay with that. I expect him to be healthier. I expect him to be better than he was last year. And he was productive last year. Had some big plays. I think as he kind of matures physically, I think he'll be a better player. And I think he's got real upside, kind of a chance to be in that, a second-year breakout like McBride was last year. So tight end room, very happy with that. Would have liked to grab Kraft as a little bit of insurance there for Musgrave. A little bit nervous with only 2 tight ends. Again, but you got to take chances, right? Chalk teams don't win this thing. You got to make some gambles somewhere. So that's my draft. I will post this on Twitter. Let me know what you think. Give me your comments, and we will be back next week with another edition of the IDP Plus Best Ball Show. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Joel Wirth, the Joel Wirth on Twitter. Check me out and hit me up with any questions, and we will talk to you next time.